Outrage over images of National Guard troops at the Capitol sleeping in a garage in near freezing cold temperatures. Those Guard members are now back inside the Capitol, but it has taken a long time to get answers on how this all happened. And it's been a lot of finger pointing. Earlier, the National Guard claimed that Capitol Police forced the troops to move into the garage during their breaks, but then the acting Capitol Police Chief pushed back. And now, Senator James Imhoff says the order came from a single police officer without any higher authority. GOP governors are furious and are ordering their troops back home. Here's Florida's Ron DeSantis.
And these folks are soldiers. They've served our country all around the world. They're not Nancy Pelosi servants. And this comes on the back end of them trying to investigate the backgrounds of our guardsmen. I thought it was very disrespectful for people who are clearly patriots. So this is a half-cocked mission at this point, and I think the appropriate thing is to bring them home.
Sandra, let me start with you. I just wonder if we can get bipartisan agreement on the five that their presence was just a great thing for America during the inauguration, and they deserve to be treated with all the dignity in the world.
Absolutely. Worth pointing out, though, some veterans and some current soldiers are pointing out pretty quickly, don't feel so bad. They've slept in worse places. But there should have been a plan. There's nobody who looks at these pictures and says this was the plan. This was a good idea. And then the conflicting statements that followed once these pictures started to emerge. That's a problem. Who directed these soldiers to that garage? Who said leave the Capitol? Who said you're going to have limited access to a bathroom with hundreds of soldiers on top of each other? And now we're getting word that 100 of these National Guard troops in D.C. have tested positive for the coronavirus because, oops, they're also not social distanced as well. There's a lot of problems here, and questions need to be answered. And Lindsey Graham today put out a statement. Whoever directed this needs to be held accountable.
That's a good point. So, Dagan, in fact, you know, there's in the back and forth now, even though both sides, Republican and Democrat, praise the troops and say this was outrageous, there's questions about the fact that the Trump Pentagon wasn't working with the Biden administration on how the troops were supposed to be
Trump's
used. So
fault.
The question is now how long, because this is just what Sandra was raising, how long should the troops stay? We just heard that some 7,000 may stay until March. Apparently March 4th is a big day for the extremists. What do you say?
It's a big day.
Yeah, bring Trump into it. That's actually part of what's at play, my opinion. You're going to keep 7,000 troops there until for another, couple of months maybe, because this is turned into some sort of Pelosian theater of panic, trying to send a message that, oh, we need all these troops here because of the evil Trump and his minions who might come back and attack the Capitol again. Essentially, let's not use our National Guard troops as props. I think that's and by the way, though, I'll point out that the First Lady did bring baskets of cookies to some of the National Guard troops out near the Capitol building today. It should also be the president as well. Next time, go with your wife, Joe Biden.
So, Greg, do you think that's right? Do you think that what you heard from Senator Inhofe, from from the Democrats, Pelosi and others, is there was nothing political about this. It was just a low-level decision and a mistake.
Yeah, maybe. But were those cookies gluten-free? That's what I want to know.
It was candy.
Is she trying to get our troops fat? Look, I'm with Sandra on this. I don't think the National Guard minds a parking lot to hang out in. It beats going to Syria, okay, given the other options, and they've probably been in worse things. But the outrage reflex in the media is missing, because if this had happened 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, there would have been somebody else in charge that you could completely demonize over this. I'm not going to demonize Biden because I'm not going to play their game, but it is hard. It's hard to be a Democrat because I'm trying to keep up with how you feel about law enforcement and the military now. I mean, remember, they hated the National Guard and refused to let them protect citizens in cities during riots and arson. You couldn't do that. But if it was a politician whose life might be in danger, oh boy, we've got to send them all in. So how is it that the politicians' lives are more important and more valuable than the citizens. Maybe they are, and maybe I'm wrong. I know that, obviously for the president. But I mean, we didn't protect our citizens. Billions of dollars of damages in cities all over the country. So I don't know. I think this is disgusting the way they were treated, and they were treated like a prop. The politicians and the media only use the military when it helps them, not when it helps us.
Jesse, so some of the governors, we just saw Ron DeSantis of Florida say, oh, he thinks this is political, Pelosi's to blame, bring him home. But the politicians in Washington are saying, no, it was a mistake. Where do you come out?
You didn't need 25,000 National Guard in the first place, Juan. I mean, with that kind of army, you could invade Quebec. No disrespect to Quebec, but I mean, talk about overkill. I mean, Juan, this is like hiring bouncers for a baby shower. It was totally unnecessary. Like the DOD even said there was no direct threat. It's COVID. There was no crowd. There was no Airbnb. That was canceled. The hotel's canceled. There's fences around the entire Capitol. You say they don't work, but there's fencing. I mean, it was not necessary, and that's what you're seeing as the result. It's Friday. Why are they still even there? Think about it. Donald Trump wanted to have a military parade in Washington, and they called him a dictator. But Joe Biden's keeping thousands of National Guard troops until March, and that's supposed to be okay? Because what? What's March 4th? That's some extremist holiday? I've never even heard of that. It's March Madness. Are they getting fired up about March Madness? Juan, you said that there was going to be armed Trump rioters surrounding every single Capitol, all 50 of them, on inauguration. You know who showed up? Antifa. That was it. That was the only people that rioted was Antifa. Yeah. If they had MAGA hats on, maybe. But honestly, it does fall under the Secretary of the Army, who does work for the President of the United States, Joe Biden. They own this. They were taking pictures with politicians. An hour later, they're sleeping on a freezing cold pavement in a parking garage. If this has happened under the last president, national scandal, and now it's chalked up to a miscommunication. I guess that's how it works.
Well, I don't think there's any question about what happened January 6th.